This is tape number ET49 from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. Two meditations by Howard Thurman. This is side 1, entitled The Function of Stillness.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. I'm reading from The Inward Journey. The need for periodic rest is not confined to mechanisms of various kinds. Rest may be complete inactivity when all customary functioning is suspended and everything comes to a pause. Rest may be a variation in intensity, a contrast between loud and soft, high and low, strong and weak, a change of pace. Rest may be a complete shifting of scenery by the movement of objects or of persons. All things seem to be held in place by the stability of a rhythm that holds and releases but never lets go. Under the same necessity lives the mind as well. There is an inner characteristic of mind that shares profoundly in the rhythm that holds and releases but never lets go. Rest for the mind takes many forms. It may come in the change of material upon which it works. It may be ranging widely and irresponsibly over strange areas of thought. It may be tackling a tough problem with more than the customary intensity. It may be daydreaming, that strange and wonderful fairyland of sugar plums and candies. It may be the experience of being swept to a perilous height by a sudden gale that gushes in from some distant shore, or of being caught in the churning spiral of a water spout that moves up from some hidden depth. It may be all, any, or none of these, but something else again. Rest for the mind may be a part of its activity. Thus, working and resting are a single thing. Perhaps this is true because the mind takes its energy neat in a manner direct and immediate. Under the same necessity lives the spirit as well. There is no clear distinction between mind and spirit, but there is a quality of mind that is more than thought and the process of thought. This quality involves feelings and the wholeness in which the life of man has its being. There is no need to tarry over the correctness of definition or even over the preciseness of meaning. What is being considered is what a man means totally when he says, I am. This self shares profoundly in the rhythm that holds and releases but never lets go. There is the rest of detachment and withdrawal when the spirit moves into the depths of the region of the great silence, where world weariness is washed away and blurred vision is once again prepared for the focus of the long view where seeking and finding are so united that failure and frustration, real though they may be, are no longer felt to be ultimately real. Here the presence of God is sensed as an all-pervasive aliveness which materializes into the concreteness of communion, the reality of prayer. Here God speaks without words, and the self listens without ears. Here at last glimpses of the meaning of all things and the meaning of one's own life are seen with all their strivings. To accept this is one meaning of the good line, rest in the Lord, rest in the Lord. During the rush and activities incident to this season of the year, it is very important that some consideration be given to the place and to the necessity for taking time out for rest and for renewal, for restoration. I remember many years ago I attended a conference, a student conference in Missouri. And in the afternoon, I saw students for, an hour, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, by appointment. And the first day, a Texan came over to the cottage to see me. He was from Texas A&M College. He came and sat down on the steps. He had a cob pipe. He filled it with tobacco, lighted it, leaned against the post, introduced himself, and I waited. 1 half hour passed, and then the second half hour passed, and promptly at 3 o'clock, he got up, shook my hand, thanked me, and left. The next day at 2 he came and repeated this until 2:45, and then he saw a young lady riding into the compound on a horse, and she did not know how to ride very well, and he turned to me and for the first time spoke. It is a cruel thing to have an animal in an environment in which the animal cannot be happy. Silence until 3. He got up, shook hands, left. He came back the next day, which was the final day. And from 2 to 3, he sat in silence. At the end, he got up and he thanked me for the hours of communion and fellowship which we had. And then he said a rather interesting thing. It is no ordinary experience to sit with another human being and feel your way into his life and let him feel his way into your life without the use of words. And to quote him again, without an atmosphere of proing and conning. We are so accustomed to communication through sound and through words that we do not trust the deeper levels of communication that can only come to pass when we withdraw from much of the normal clamor and clatter of external symbols and seek to relate to each other out of the depths of quiet, out of the depths of withdrawal, out of the depths of a deeper understanding than is our custom. Now, if this is true, in relation to each other, one person with another, who seeks to to relate at the profoundest level of their being. How much more true, if I may put it that way, is it when we think about the necessity of withdrawing from all of the mass attack of commotion and sounds and noises upon our nervous system, just retreating from all of this into a deeper level of the self, and here, centering and being still, and out of the stillness, hear the meaning of life, of God, of other human beings, whose meaning we can only sense when we withdraw from all of the externalities by which we relate to each other. Therefore, it is a good thing, then, not only during this season of holiday activities, to retreat a little from the distractions and from the noises, and take a good, hard, and long look at what is the meaning of our activities, what is the meaning of what we are about. But it is a good habit of the mind and habit of the life and habit of the body to withdraw from involvement and then become involved again. And to do this until at last each person discovers his own rhythm, what he needs in terms of involvement, and when he needs to withdraw, so that little by little this pulse beat of meaning will begin to inform the quality of his thinking and feeling and interpreting. And this is what it means at last, to rest in the Lord, to sense the underlying rhythm by which all of life is held, turned loose, held, contained. And he who discovers this knows the meaning of life. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
This is tape number ET49 from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. This is Side 2, entitled Miracle of Prayer.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. I'm reading from a book called The Wings of Healing, edited by Dean Gresham of the Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. And this is a section on the adventure of prayer. Prayer is being with God. You can't choose at all about it except just in choosing to be with Him. Perhaps He will take you up on the mountain with Him. Perhaps He will take you into the night with Him, or into the mist where you will not be able to see Him. Perhaps you will be with Him in pain or in exaltation or in happiness or in tiredness. He just says, "Come to me," and you say, "I will," or "I will not." You make no stipulations. That's not your part. You know that He wants you, and you know what kind of wanting that is. You know that if you say you will not come, He does not leave off wanting you, so you imagine what that means. You know that if you come to Him, He will ask you to help Him about the kingdom, that He will in the end give you that work for it that no one else can do. You know that He will bring you into the fellowship of His friends, and that you will be allowed to bring Him into the fellowship of your friends. But of course, you will also go with Him before His enemies, and the things that they say about Him will be said about you. And you will also go among the people who don't care, whom He is trying to arouse to a sense of His love. Quite often, He and you will be left desolate with the doors locked before you, and the people on the other side scornful and amused. You will find that He will ask you to do things which you can only do if you forget about yourself and the sort of person you thought you were. Or He may ask you to face death or complete shame as He does Himself. And all the time, you will fail Him so often that by and by you will have no self-confidence left. Only a growing confidence in Him instead, because He does not fail you. And prayer must be fearfully difficult because it isn't easy to be with God, although it is simple. It means that some things must go, like pride and unkindness and self-indulgence and self-importance. But all the same, it is a choice which the best part of you wants, so that the most glorious souls in all the ages do choose the adventure of prayer. Prayer may be a cry of the heart in despair or in anguish. It may be an exaltation growing out of an overwhelming sense of the joy and the haleness and the beauty and the wonder of life. Or it may be the dumb, inarticulate groanings of the Spirit, caught in the agonizing grapple of the kind of pain that transcends any formula of expression. Or it may be something that is ordered in accordance with the way one is trained and the discipline of one's faith. But to me, the great miracle of prayer is the fact that it is possible for the human spirit to have a sense of being in the presence of its God. This sense of being stripped to whatever there is that is literal and irreducible in oneself in the presence of God. This sense of encounter is to me the great miracle, not the words that are said, not the question as to whether or not there is efficacy in prayer, whether or not prayer accomplishes something outside of the life of the man who prays. All of these questions that belong in the formal discipline of the psychology of prayer or the theology of prayer, all of these questions are meaningless from within the swirling context of the moment in the life of the man who himself is in the act of prayer. The prayer that I love, perhaps beyond all other prayers, is the one that is found in the Psalms. It is a great sweeping thing. It begins, Lord, thou hast searched me and known me, thou knowest my down sitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid thine hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain unto it. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and fly to the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand hold me, and thy right hand shall steady me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. The darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. In thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God, God. How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with thee. Search me, O God, and know my heart. try me, and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting, and lead me in the way everlasting. Prayer at its best is when a man enjoys God and prays out of sheer love of Him. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
This program was pre-recorded.